Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the BullShooting Podcast. My name is Will Stuart, joined today by Mr. Ryan Mooneyham. And for those who don't know us, I'm of course of USA Darts Productions. Travel around the country and stream events with the USA Darts streaming platforms, and of course work for A to Z Darts as well. And then for you, Ryan, you are from Springfield, Missouri, current ADO Area 6 manager. You also are a soft tip and a steel tip player. You've been playing for about 17 years, if I'm not mistaken. Got a couple titles to your belt: 3-time Missouri Open champion, a St. Patty's Open champion, as well as a Grand Woody champion. I know that's a pretty coveted title. We'll speak about that for a little bit. And then a top 4 in the Music City tournament. That was last year, so kudos to you on that one. But how's it going, buddy? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me for this first one.
Hello, how you doing tonight?
Can't complain at all, brother. Ready to talk some darts, have some good combos. I know we're going to be talking about a lot of things. Both, it's going to be, Las Vegas Open, Ladbrokes Masters, Danny Lauby. We're going to be talking about Winmau. We're going to have so many conversations here. It should be fun. Should be fun, man. As I'm going to log out of a couple things in the background, just so we can get a smooth little coverage here. But let's talk about yourself, Ryan. Let's mention about these covenant wins that you had, the Grand Woody title. What is that about? Tell us about it.
Well, the great thing about the Woody is that it's a charity tournament. You don't win a whole lot of money, and they have a giant auction. It's for Toys for Tots. The Marines come in every year and pick up the toys and make a presentation. It was started several years ago. I know that Bill Pepman and Kevin Riley ran it for many years, and we lost Bill a couple years ago, and it was one of his main focuses. So I know that when you win the Woody, you get this nice, big, beautiful trophy. It's a pride thing. Some people have won it 2 or 3 times. I think my friend Jason Tomlinson won it this year, and I know that several of Jules has won it, and a couple other of my friends. It's coveted. It's one of my proudest things to win, because you use those Woody darts, and those are not easy to fly when you're not used to playing with them.
Yeah, they certainly are not. I've never had the pleasure, but I've heard so many stories. Actually, Darren Young's a one that likes to play the American-style darts, and he speaks about the technique involved to do that. So it's nice to hear that kind of about that unique title that you hold and only a few others hold. But yeah, I mean, we're just going to be talking about a lot of things tonight for the first episode. I'm glad to have you here. It should be pretty fun. It should be pretty interesting. We're going to get right into it. We were at the Las Vegas Open together. You came as a player and also sat in with me, now at a couple of events in kind of the commentary booth when you could. How did the Las Vegas Open go for you? What'd you think?
As a player, I did real well in the Nationals. I didn't play as well in the Las Vegas Open. We have, we had a new format this year. I was a floor official for the ladies. It was challenging for both the players and for us to really get that new format out. But the WDF rules and enforcement, it's challenging. It's a new concept, and not everybody wants to do it. Not everybody wants to put on a pair of slacks. No one wants to take off their hat. Not everybody wants to just drink water during their match. But I just tell people, it's like, you understand that if you was to win this event and you travel over to the WDF Masters, this is what you would face.
Yeah.
So get used to it now here, so you're not unexpected over there. Plus, it gives a little bit for the ADO and myself, a little bit another platform. I know that several dart forums in the United States and Canada both require dress codes. To me, it's not a big deal. It's just you and the dartboard, and how you dress is, if you're uncomfortable with the fact you're not wearing shorts, then how are you going to represent the USA in a World Cup or a Masters or anything? And that's just my opinion. But some people, this is a social hour for them, and that's tournament is a social thing for them. Some players, it's not. They're wanting to move on overseas.
Well, starting off with a hot topic right away on the BullShooting Podcast, I kind of like it. I'm digging it from Ryan Mooneyham. That's a big statement. I mean, there was I know that there was a few controversies in the room where people didn't have the right attire, and unfortunately with the WDF event, I mean, that's another thing with the, even the ADO. I mean, the alcohol on stream kind of we had to deal with that. I mean, that's kind of something that you don't really think of, that those tournament staff have to deal with, on a daily basis. And, we do want to give a shout out while I'm here to all the tournament staff, no matter where you are. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to lay down those darts and pick up a pin or the laptop and go at it and make those brackets work and let us have fun. I mean, it takes a lot of work, but you got to deal with a lot too. So, I mean, yeah, that's a very good take to start off with here. I mean, it does kind of suck, but we will have to get used to dress codes, whether you're playing in North America or going across the pond.
Well, the other thing that I will bring into count is the PDC qualifiers for the U.S. Masters. I mean, when I checked in 17 or 18, whichever one it was, probably both, dress clothes, dress pants, belt, dress shoes, certain things on your jerseys.
Yeah.
And the one thing I do remember the PDC saying was, we don't care who you are, we're the PDC. So you want to go to that next level with American darts, North American darts. That is a step you got to take. I mean, you got to, I understand that not everybody likes dress clothes. I understand that, that wearing a pair of slacks may be uncomfortable, but when you watch the guys watch across the stage at the Alley Pally, which we all talk about, they're not in shorts.
Some of them do wear some goofy attire, but hey, nonetheless.
They do. Some do wear goofy attire.
Whatever.
And I think the crowd likes that.
Whatever may work. But, from the streaming side of things, there's a lot of good matches that came about. I mean, some of my favorites were actually on the Friday for the 501 event, and even the cricket ADO, the Thursday Friday event. Some of my favorite matches came from there. I think we had Kevin Luke and Larry Butler in just a barn burner. It was like an 88 and a 90 average. I'm talking about that's the kind of stuff that you have to do to win a title. And Kevin Luke did it two times or three times maybe. I think he's the first one to do the youth and adult. And then the other winners for those events for ADO Cricket was Elliot Milk and Paula Murphy, and then for ADO 501, Callie West as well. So I think that's her second title as well. And Paula Murphy, I don't know how many she has, but it's got to be in the handfuls by now. Milk's got 2. So what do you think?
The funny thing that I talked to Milk when he won the singles cricket, I go, you're defending 501. He was like, yeah, I just played the cricket to warm up. And he wins. Good job, Milk. Go for it.
Yeah, there you go. The milkman just pulling out the works to win titles. And, it was a good performance from him all day around to win that cricket title. Same for Paula Murphy. And impressive stuff, I mean, in the final from both. Not the final wasn't too impressive from Kevin and Mike. I mean, there was a couple legs there that, they have the hiccups on the doubles. But to get to that, you have to have some good matches. And I know that Callie West had a phenomenal couple matches leading up to her 72 in the final, I think it was. Just an impressive display on the doubles. I mean, we were going to have a highlight reel. I kind of dropped the ball on that one, and I apologize. We were going to give you a visual kind of a highlight reel for those that are watching here on Facebook and YouTube, but unfortunately, I dropped the ball. My apologies, guys. We'll have that out in a later date. But there was a lot of impressive names there, some from Canada. I mean, of course, we didn't get the overseas crowd. We had one lady from Mongolia. Lots of talent in the room. What do you think?
When you go to those tournaments, it's always who's who. Now, not everybody is always going to be there, but it's still a who's who. And if everybody showed up that you would think about to win any one of those tournaments when everyone's at, it's just incredible. Yes, we didn't have Japan in, and we didn't have a lot of folks that are from the Pacific, and then we didn't have. We had Paula Jacqueline over from England, so we like a couple years ago we had several players in from the UK, and of course you always get them from the Netherlands and Germany, and the bad name of COVID did make it a little bit less of a international feel, but it still had. It's hard to win. I don't care who you are. It's hard to win.
Yeah, exactly. It is very hard to win. I mean, you did have, the big names: Larry Butler, Darren Young, Dawson Rochelle came down, Logan Crooks came down from Canada, Trish Gretzik, Callie West, and Paula Murphy. Yeah, I mean, we can keep rattling off names as a thing. I mean,
our winner, Jim Widmeyer, Captain American, played phenomenal in the final. I gave him a bunch of kudos after the stream, and just to watch him take it to the next step, he just went up. He just kept getting better and better and better in that match.
He really played some impressive darts, and I think Paula picked up a couple titles, and Julie Weger, I mean, she picked up our WDF title alongside Jim Widmeyer, and that was some dicey darts. I mean, both her and Shay Cole had opportunities to win that match after Shay was down 4-0. I mean, we saw that impressive comeback, and to have darts to win the match, I mean, wow. But I mean, Jim Widmeyer was too much for Gary Mawson. We saw some nice darts in there. Our first leg was a little bit of a downfall, I would say, but then from there it went up from, I think his averages went up 25 points, maybe 20. Is that correct? 22
to 25 points, if I remember right. So you take away those first two legs, he just kept putting the foot on the gas, and he just kept bringing it, and then he was hitting his double right out of the gate. So Captain America stepped up. He took the title. He's going to be a great representation for us overseas and the Masters. He did win an invite if he decides to go, which I'm pretty sure he'll probably will, knowing he likes to play on the international levels. So it was impressive. I mean, he's a mauler. He's going to stay in the match, and he's going to battle you. But, I mean, Jim, boom.
Yeah.
And then the Shay Cole, Julie Weger, we call her nickname is Jules, so please don't get that confused with the other gentleman. But Julie was up 4-0, and I talked about it. Like, anybody can get back in a match even down 4-0. Mm-hmm. And watch the show, you just start checking them off one by one. Then they both get down to double 10 apiece, and like we talked about, it's a final. It's nerves. Who's got the double?
Yeah.
Who can cut that tension and take it home?
Well, speaking of doubles, I did want to mention, because I cannot not say this, Larry Butler and Alex Spellman putting in a performance on the doubles today. I mean, it was in the Las Vegas Open. They took both the doubles 501 and doubles cricket. That's pretty impressive when you're a doubles team. I mean, and they were playing some impressive stuff. I think they put in a 14 or 12 to 14 dart leg, I believe. A couple of those on stream.
Yeah, I was walking through the hall and I heard their names pop up as a doubles team in a match, and I thought to myself, whew, that's going to be a tough one to beat.
It certainly will. I mean, that's just any way you think about it. Spellman is turning into quite the player, and I mean, we've got a person talented like Larry Butler kind of teaming up with you on a lot of events. I mean, you're going to do well, and you're going to learn a lot as well. So that's nice, double bonus.
I think Spellman, if I read his credentials from this weekend or last weekend, he won the Fire on the Mountain Singles 501.
Yeah, I believe I think that popped up on his Facebook account as well. So, yeah, that's one of those things. It's like, gosh, he's playing some impressive darts. He's in a hotbed of talented people. I think he's got the Phillips next to him. He's got PJ Stewart. I mean, when you've got, I think there's a long line, actually, like 10 people, I think, is what they're saying. But, I mean, we've got that kind of talent surrounding you. You're bound to go far. And then when you talk about teaming up with some impressive players, wow. But, all righty, well, I kind of wanted to, go next into kind of some professional darts. Let's lead into the Ladbrokes Masters and what just happened as we saw Mr. Joe Cullen with an impressive big win for him and actually earned himself a spot into our later conversation about Premier League lineup. But yeah, it was an impressive win for him. 11-9 in that final over Dave Chisholm. Dave Chisholm can't catch a break, Ryan, man. What do you think there?
Chizzy, I've watched him play now for a while, and you're just constantly rooting in his corner, and it just seems like someone always kind of just takes it to one step above him, and he's playing phenomenal. So it's, you're that player that's always there, always right on the double. You got match starts, and you may have missed your first turn at it, and they take the game from underneath you, and they take the match. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of luck on your side, and I think he played great the whole tournament. He just didn't have that luck.
Yeah,
and then you got the person that gets the luck, and then they just get hot.
I mean, that is certainly right. I mean, talking about a big tournament, Daryl Gurney came out on top of him 6-2 in the first match, and played Gary Anderson, beating him 10-1, which was really impressive. I can't say that bad about that. Michael Van Gerwen beating him 10-7, then turned around and beating Jose de Souza 11-8 in the semifinals. So I mean, kind of remember that one as well. I want you to remember that name, Jose de Souza, semifinal Ladbrokes Masters. That can be important for later. But you got to feel bad for Chizzy. I mean, it's his 9th televised final defeat, including 7 that could be considered majors. Really missing out to Phil Taylor and Michael Van Gerwen, and then now to lose it up to Joe Cullen. It can be kind of a hurtful thing. I think it's going to be hard to get over for Dave. What do you think?
Well, they always say sometimes, or always the bridesmaid and never the bride. So it'll happen, and I think it might be the big one. It might be a match play. It might be one of those that'll be the breakthrough. Michael Smith's been 2 times in the World Finals and can't get over the edge, when I felt like he had the game to beat going into those 2 World Finals. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, it's just a little bit of luck on your side. I don't know Chizzy, but maybe he's got a mental block that just rears its ugly head at that last moment when he's been playing great. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly tough to pinpoint what it could be, but it definitely hurts. I mean, Chizzy's known for these little spurts of just greatness, and when he's on fire. He's hard to beat, but just unlucky performances in the end. And I want to mention some impressive play by an individual too, Michael Smith. I mean, man, that guy was on fire, and unfortunately losing to Dave with a 97 average, where Dave put in a 93.33 and a 10-8 loss to him. But I mean, a 105.49 average and a 10-6 win over Christoph Ratajski. I mean, Michael Smith, after that finals, finishing second, unfortunately, in the World Championship. But wow, I mean, what do you have to say about him? Do you think he's bound for a good year? I certainly think that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Well, I will tell you, I'm a big fan of Michael Smith, and he's a scoring phenom. He just can flat, 180, 180, 180. He just seems like he's just a little bit dicey on them doubles, and it'll come together. He's got 2 littler kids. I always tell people that sometimes your home life makes a little bit more choppy for you when you're trying to play at a higher level. I mean, there just could be a little things. He's growth in his game, growth in the traveling schedules that they got to go through. I still think you're going to see a world title out of him. He was a world youth champion, but I think you're going to see a world title out of him. I really do. Every time he's playing, I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan of his.
I think it's going to be sooner rather than later that we see him with a title. And I'm kind of eyeballing that UK Open if he keeps his form. It's going to be tough with the Premier League playing so much, but I think we'll see what happens. And speaking of kind of Premier League, we'll get into that, like I said, a little bit later. But I do want to mention something that happened the same time as the Ladbrokes Masters. Is kind of a little bit more importance to North American darts. Danny Lobby wins a spot into that UK Open qualifier. So it's kind of speaking of the UK Open, that's big for Danny.
Danny is a phenomenal player that's going to tear it up on the international scene. He just needs the time. Yep. He needs the time and he needs the place, and he is going to do it. He's a super nice guy. If you ever met him, he's kind of quiet-natured, but he will play. And I've seen him when he was a young man with his dad in St. Louis at 16 and 17 years old. And he was just running everybody over. And I sit back and I watched him play on stage at the Alley Pally, just like everybody else on TV. I've seen him play live, and I'm a big fan of his. I've never actually personally beat him, so losing to him has always been like, hey, I lost again, but it was nice playing you.
Well, he's got that. I'll use one from Anthony Eugene. He's got that rat-tat-tat style that everybody kind of loves. He's quick. He's somebody that can really be a person that gets the crowd behind him a little bit. And he happened to make through this qualifier at Riley's. There was only 100 entries due to limitations, but it was him, Diego Portela, and Cao Feng Long who earned spots as well. The UK Open is going to be March 4th through the 6th, and there's going to be a 160-player field. So, that's going to be a tough tournament. It's short form, short days, or I said long days, I should say. It's 3 short days of action with a 160-player field. So you're going to go match after match. That's kind of what makes that UK Open defeat, or kind of a UK Open a feat to be reckoned with, and it's a good win. And your defending champion is Mr. James Wade. So James Wade has, I think, won that a couple times now, if I'm not mistaken. So fun fact, Ryan, who played in the UK Open final versus James Wade in 2008?
I think it was Gary Mawson, but tell me if I'm wrong.
That was correct, sir. Mr. Gary Mawson, who we saw at the Las Vegas Open, unfortunately losing 11-7. But hey, a little North American connection there with the UK Open from one of our very own in the Mauler, Gary Mawson. Kind of an impressive feat. And I want you to remember that UK Open, James Wade, as well as defending champion, because that's going to be important for our Premier League conversation. But what do you want to talk about next, Ryan? What are you thinking?
Well, let's. I think we need to talk about the changes that are coming up with the dartboard. I want to touch on the Seniors Tour. I want to talk about our 4 PDC Tour card holders we have now out of North America. I'm becoming a bigger fan of international darts because I have more players in the field to watch. I got Danny to watch. I got Baggish to watch. I got Jules. I'm a big fan of both Matt Campbell and Jeff Smith. So I have a lot more darts that have a lot more home feeling now because they're coming from our side of the pond.
Well, something else to mention is you got a little bit more connection than that. I think you've went a step to the Aki a time or two as a doubles partner for Jules, so that kind of means a little bit to you. I wanted to mention that as well. So shout out to you, Jules Van Dogen. You guys had some impressive runs, some impressive wins as well.
Yeah, actually, I still practice against him, and I practiced the other night. And here's the funny conversation. I'll get a text. You want to practice? I'll be gone for 20 minutes, and I'll sit back down on the couch, and Amy goes, "Did you play Jules?" I'm like, "Yep." She goes, "Did you get any legs?" I go, 2. And she goes, "Well, how many did he get?" I go, "The rest." And, I'll post. I can post 80, 82, 83 against him, but it's 93, 94, 97. It's just whatever is coming off if his practice starts that night. And, he's impressive to play, and he's impressive to play with. It's just I get beat a lot.
That's the problem is with the good practice partners, you're going to get beat up a little bit from time to time. But that's the importance of a good practice partner. You got to do that on the hockey when you can and take care of business. That's part of it.
I just want to win a few more legs.
just a couple. All right, well, let's talk about the Winmau Board. You wanted to discuss that. It's kind of a unique thing now as the ADO, the WDF, the Amateur Dart Circuit, I believe that's what it's called, and the PDC are now using the same board. Kind of. Same brand, essentially.
Same brand. Winmau, Blade 5, Blade 4, we've been seeing in the field for the last 5 or 6 years. Blade 3 before that. Now the PDC has adopted with a Blade 6, which is the triple core, which is their highest version of the board. My understanding is, hearing from other people and reading, it's a lot harder board than the Unicorn board, which I actually have both the Blade 5 and the Unicorn, and the Unicorn is a little bit softer. Some players like a hard board. Some players like a soft board. I mean, it's like when I played on the shot boards down in Asheville, it felt like it was a softer board, but I looked like I was doing a little bit better as far as sinking my darts in and staying. But I think it really depends on the player's strength. So if you have a real soft throw and you hit a hard board, you're not going to stick in. If you've got a really, really strong throw and you hit a soft board, you're going to basically hit the backwood and then come right backwards. So,
it's
a lot of players just don't realize that it could be, that the board is, if you get burrs and stuff, a lot of people will use the burr, I wouldn't say spiked,
tool,
but
stone.
Little, and the ones that'll have the ring, the really aggressive tips and whatever. So when they hit that bristle, the bristle's going to hang on to that a little bit. So I think a lot of players, what they focus on is with it falling out, did you hit the wire or not? Did you hit your own dart or not? Or are you throwing so hard that you're hitting the wood in the back and on a softer board and the dart's actually dislodging itself because it's to the back of the board and not sticking? I mean, there's just a lot of factors.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a true board that's one for everyone, and I think there will always be controversials with whatever board you like. If you watch Simon Whitlock tear apart a unicorn board in one match, I mean, you start to think, well, maybe it is the board. I don't know. It's just time will tell.
Yeah. We do have a little video we'll kind of play for those watching on Facebook and YouTube as well, just kind of in the background. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's very difficult to judge. I mean, there's so many boards out there, but I mean, from the three, in the dual core, the triple core, and then the just regular core, the original, I guess you could say, just the Blade 6. I don't know, it looks like an impressive thing to me, and to kind of have the connection, whether it be through one of those cores, with all those different systems, I mean, it makes it kind of alike. It makes it different, It's not different, I should say. It makes it to where we're all kind of unified. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice, I think.
What I do like about the new Blade 6 is what they call it a television ring, or more, a lot of streaming going on. A lot of people are playing at home, so you got a bigger number to look at. Even if you're just playing home on your own matches, or you're doing a streaming board, or you're on stage for the PDC, you can see the numbers better. Yeah. That's the first thing. The second thing I like about the Blade 5s that came out is, instead of having those little clips on the back that you would try to secure, you can
Roto-lock.
You can rotate the three things and kind of tighten it to your wall. I know that standards from way back when, because you couldn't get the dartboards thing, so you'd buy a thick shag carpet and then put that dartboard on that standard, and it would stay put.
Or shove the shims in there and all that.
We'd shove the shims in there. We were shimming, the no doors in the past. So with the Blade 5, which I currently have Blade 5s only in Springfield on all 14 dartboards that we have, we don't have the shag carpet background no more. We just basically, they can secure to the board, but we can just tighten them. If you put a surround around them, like we do on our stage, they'll stay even tighter. So, I mean, there has been a lot of better development over the years with, even with the lights for the game of steel tip darts. So, I mean, the products have gotten better, and it's going to be really interesting to see if the bounce out controversy is settled with the Winmau Blade 6. Will the Michael Smiths, will the the Whitlocks, will they see the difference that they, their darts really show the problems? If you're a big ton 80 hitter and you're always constantly falling out of the dartboard and not bouncing out, there's two different things people didn't realize. There's a difference between falling out of the dartboard and a bounce out. You can hit your dart and bounce out. You can hit a square wire square in the corner and bounce out. But if the dart goes in there and then just falls out slowly, then maybe that part will be taken care of.
Yeah, and there's some controversy too. There's a lot of people saying, well, is Whitlock going to change his points now just because he's kind of has a thing with Winmau? He's sponsored by Winmau, personally, for personal preference, I don't think he's going to change at all. I think he's kind of set in his nature. He likes the hold of those points. I think it's going to be hard pressed. It's just like any sport that over time you're going to evolve as you go. As you look at golf, you look at basketball with shoes, you look at football with equipment. I mean, you're always evolving. And I'm sorry to say it, them points ain't going nowhere. They're going to stay where there's successful businesses that create those points now. And I don't see them going anywhere. I see more players using them than not using them. So that's my hard take on that. What do you think?
Well, with the Swiss point darts, you can change them out. You can go with the smooth darts. You can go with the rigid darts. You can go with the barbed darts. You can make that decision, with the points now with the Swiss point system. If you're a fan of that, I'm a fan of a 1.5 to 2 inch point, smooth. Leave it alone. I also don't think I throw too hard or throw too soft. I think I'm kind of in between. So I experience the darts not falling out. I have the bounce outs, and bounce outs normally for me are either grabbing the side of a dart, hitting the back of a flight, or hitting a wire dead on. Mm-hmm. The other thing that people realize, your dartboards today, compared to look at some of the old, the old BDO stuff. I mean, they had those big super round wire, darts. And a friend of mine, Steve Brown, always told me when you played on those big super wires, you didn't sharpen your darts. You actually dulled them because you'll dig into that big round wire and cause even more bounce out. So the technology and the thin wire and the blade technology has really progressed us to the point where we're scoring better, we're hitting doubles easier, a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point as well. But before we go any further, we're going to talk about the Premier League next. But I did want to mention that, of course, A to Z Darts has a fantastic Dart of the Month. They always do. They kind of switch these out periodically. Every month they have a new Dart of the Month, and this one is the Claymore, the Shot Darts. It's an impressive little barrel here with the red, black, and the silver. Kind of looks stunning to say the least, but it's the Dart of the Month over at aToZdarts.com. If you want to check that out, go do so. But let's talk about the Premier League now. It's kind of what people have been waiting on, and we got a couple more things to say after this. But let's get into it. The Premier League lineup. I'll mention those names for you: Gerwin Price, Peter Wright, Michael Van Gerwen, James Wade, Michael Smith, Gary Anderson, Johnny Clayton, and Joe Cullen. What's your thoughts? Just kind of right now.
Well, 8 players this year instead of 10. I like the tournament situation that you're going to see. And here's what I want to talk about. You want to go see a PDC event. The Premier League's in your city and you're overseas. You pay your money to go and sit down and you do the whole experience of the PDC night. What they're giving you now is a winner at the end of the evening. So you have a contest that's going to be contested with a winner at the end of the night. So, if you're a fan of Michael Van Gerwen and he wins that night, you're going to go home pumped. If you're a fan of one of the other players and they lose in the final, you're going to be upset because you're a fan of the game. So the PDC is giving you all the fans that night of a finalist every night. So that's like, I give you the example of racing cars. You have heat races, then you get to a feature, and then at the end of the night, there's a winner.
And that's a good point to say, and that's the way this format's going to play out. 8-player mini tournaments for 16 weeks. You're talking best of 11 for each match. Each player will meet twice in the quarterfinals, so that's the thing about the 16 and the 8. So you're kind of doing that roundabout. Night 8 and night 16 are based off the league table, so that's kind of something to remember because that can really kind of force a hand there. The winner gets 5 points, 10,000 pounds, a little nice bonus check there, you could say. Second place gets 3 points, and then the semis you get 2 points, and the top 4 advance to the playoffs. So there's kind of the system, and that kind of is how it's going to work out. I'm kind of interesting. I think it does have a chance of doling out, but I think it's actually going to kind of kick in. I think people are going to enjoy this, really.
Well, it goes back to the fans. If all your tournaments are every weekend or whatever, this is a Thursday night premiere. So, you're in Amsterdam or wherever that's going to have the event, and you buy your ticket, you travel up, and you get to watch darts all night, and you get the full experience of the walk on and everything. It's unfortunately, I think it's geared towards both the players can make some extra money, which is great because it'll help their sport and help them progress to be even better. And two is without the fans, those big prize monies are not there. You gotta give them a product every week.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's important. You can't keep it dull. You got to keep it reinventing the wheel and keep things fresh. And I think that's what the transfer from Barry Hearn to his son. That's kind of one of the things we're seeing now, and I think it's going to be interesting for the long haul. I definitely think it's interesting now that we've got those names out, and some people feel like they're left out, which I got the take here in a second I'll give about that. Personally, kind of some statistics as well that I think. But I want to hear your opinion first on the Premier League lineup and see what your thoughts are on kind of who's involved right now.
Well, I know that you got Joe Cullen, who just won the Masters, got the spot, and there's the controversy on why Rob Cross or who else was the other one was left
Jose
out? Jose de Souza.
Yeah.
I know you got that controversy. So they had a lineup of 10, and then they had the time whenever they had the challengers because Gary Anderson had the bad back. Mm-hmm. So they were still given a product, but I don't think they can get this product completed without a lineup of 8. And I'm sorry, but Gary Anderson is a fan favorite. He's in there because he's a fan favorite. I know he's a great player, and I don't know where he's at in the rankings, but some of the things I read was he didn't win a title last year to be able to get in where others did. I get that, but one of the things I got to understand if I'm in the PDC is Gary Anderson's fans are there. It's like Michael Van Geuren had a bad year. Would you leave him out even though he's ranked number 1? He didn't win a title, but he's still ranked number 1 because he got 10 second places. I mean, you can sit there and you can chop it 15 different ways on who should be in there. But if you're going to do this format, you got to keep it to 8 players. You got, maybe a 3.5 hour window to complete this thing with production, television time, and then fans. Fans go home and at the end of the semifinals because it's 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock. They got to go to work next day. I mean, there's a lot of things you got to take into factor when it comes to putting together a small window to produce a tournament.
And that's the truth, and they're doing it for 17 weeks with the finals night. So it'll be interesting. And my personal takes: we got Gerwin Price, Peter Wright, Michael Van Gerwen, James Wade, Michael Smith, Gary Anderson, Johnny Clayton, and Joe Cohen. That's the reason why I said it that way, because you got your top 6 in there, which is the ones I explained. So your 6th person is Gary Anderson. And then 4th is James Wade. And I want to bring up those 2 names because those are kind of the names that people have brought out. For me, personally, I think that Gary Anderson is the one that should have been out if there's any controversy at all. And Jose de Souza should have earned that spot instead. Just because if I look at there's some statistics, of course, that I've looked at. Of course, we'll right off the bat go why James Wade has earned his spot. James Wade, like I said earlier, defending champion of the UK Open. That's a hard tournament to win, and he won it last year. And then he turns around and has a semifinal berth in the World Championship this year. That's a man who's earned his spot in the Premier League. And also, how about to mention this? You snubbed him last year, and he had to earn his way through because Gerwin Price had COVID. Well, if that's true or not, we don't know. Gerwin Price certainly thinks it's not. But hey, he turned around and finished 6th. Guess who finished behind him? Gary Anderson and Rob Cross. Gary Anderson in the 8th spot, Rob Cross in the 9th. So that just tells you what James Wade can do when you put him out of things, and I think he's certainly earned his spot into this. Now, why I think Gary Anderson should be switched with Mr. Jose de Souza. Gary Anderson is a World Championship performer. That's what he's done for the last 10 years, with 8 of the last 10 years being a quarterfinal or better. He's got 5 finals appearances, 2 wins. He's also got 2 semis and a quarterfinal in that length of time. That's a lot of time. But other than that, last year, he didn't have anything. He had a finals appearance in the World Championship, and that's really it. So he's been living off of the World Championship for a little while. Now, granted, he had a great 2020, but 2021 he didn't do anything. And last year he finished 8th in the Premier League. That's my take for right there, and I've got some more facts. But what's your thoughts off of that?
Well, I will tell you the one that really surprised me was the Rob Cross, the European Championship winner. I mean, voltage is popular. I mean, you're looking to sell tickets. It's about selling tickets. That's the argument I'm going to put out there for everybody is you're the PDC, you're selling tickets, you're putting out a product. Voltage is popular, so you leave him out. That's a tough one for some people to take. But let me ask you something. If you're the fan and you go to the PDC event, the only time you've ever got to see it, and you got to see Peter Wright come up on stage and, coming out on Pitbull and then coming across the stage doing his stuff. I mean, that's what you're living for. That's what you're there for. You do the fancy dress. You sing the songs. You have a great time with your friends. Unfortunately, and I know that everyone's going to argue this, and it is a product. At the end of the day, it is a product. It is an opportunity for those players to earn more, yes. The PDC may revisit it next year and keep that challenge spot in. Maybe you do 7 for sure, and you rotate X amount of players through that have earned it, in that 8th spot. They're always the 8th seed. They got an uphill to climb, but you just never know who's going to take out that person that night. I mean, you can sit there and talk about it until you're blue in the face. You're putting together a product like the Premier League, which is basically the league, a fan-driven event. That's what you face.
Well, I think that's why James Wade gets a lot of controversy, too. He's not a flashy guy by any means. He's been wearing the same outfit for whoever knows long. But, that's why, he's the 4th-ranked person in the world. You'd be dumb not to think that he's going to get in the Premier League. It's just one of those things, like, he's earned his spot. He's 4th for a reason. That's why he should be there. You're not going to give it to anybody else. And I think, honestly, they went pretty well with the top 6. And even though I don't like the Gary Anderson pick, I would rather see Josie DeSalvo just because you look at Jose last year. He's got a match play last 16, a Grand Prix last 16, a UK Open last 16. By the way, he was the runner-up of last year's Premier League. And he also had a semis final in the Masters. So he's sitting 7th. I think he should have jumped Gary. Gary should have went out because, no offense to Gary, but he's been kind of in and out of things for a little while, whether we like it or not. He likes fishing a little bit. He likes having his time off. He's got a new wife. That's something to kind of think about as well. But I think Joe Cullen, that's just a nice little mix-up they added in for him winning the title. And I do think it means a little bit more than Rob Cross because he's had a couple better finishes than Rob Cross this past year. So I think that's why they put him there. That's personal effect, and he's the rock star. He's going to be a little bit more flashy.
I was going to say you also look at the fresh face of Joe Cullen. Last year we seen Johnny Clayton, the ferret, which comes storming up all of a sudden. He was sitting 8th before you knew it. Joe Cullen. You got Luke Humphreys. You've got a lot of big names, or not new to us, but new to maybe the fan base, that are turning out to be big names that are coming up, so. Yeah.
Well, Joe's been around for some time. He has been around for some time, but he's definitely progressed throughout the years. And
that's got to be hard to do.
Think
about it, from being 128 to the top 10.
Yep.
What did you have to do to get from that spot when you first got your tour card to finally make it in as the top 8? Just top 8.
A lot.
Not winning one, just top 8. You got to play good all the time, and you got to beat big names all the time.
Yep. Well, whether we like it or not, here is the Premier League lineup, and kudos to the PDC for letting us use this piece of material here. And I kind of want to focus on a couple nights, but the whole thing is there for you as we try to do this bi-weekly here for this podcast. So we'll kind of focus on night 1 and night 2. I think you got some impressive darts coming our way in night 1 as we see Michael Van Gerwen, Gary Anderson, and I kind of started from the top like a dummy, but I wanted to start with Peter Wright and Michael Smith because that is a World Championship rematch right there. And I think with the form that Michael had in the last last Ladderbrook Masters, I think it's going to be tough for Wright to pull this one out, but that's just personal preference. So you got Gerwin Price, James Wade, Johnny Clayton, and Joe Cullen. Who do you think comes out in night one as victor?
Johnny Clayton.
Johnny Clayton, huh? Really? You like Johnny Clayton?
I watched his performance. I watched his performance in the World Championships, and he was just blistering hot. And it falls out at the end where he didn't make it in, but I like him. I like watching him play, and he's great. He's a good player.
And he's still working.
We'll see. Joe Cullen.
Still working.
Well, okay, so Joe Cullen may come up with nerves night one, and Clayton gets through. That's and then he just catches fire. And if I read that right, he would play Price, and he's got a pretty good record against Price. So you're looking at I'm going to predict Johnny Clayton night one.
I'm honestly gonna ride it out with the guy that I just said looked impressive. I'm gonna think Michael Smith's gonna come out with the first win. I'm gonna do it. That's a gutsy call, but I think he's gonna pull it out for the first night victory. And then we'll kind of look back. We'll look at night two real quick. Peter Wright, Michael Van Gerwen, Johnny Clayton, Michael Smith. That's going to be a fantastic match. James Wade, Joe Coleman, Gerwin Price, and Gary Anderson. All these are going to be impressive matches. I mean, the Gerwin Price, Gary Anderson is eye-appealing. We all know why. They kind of get a little feisty on the hockey every once in a while, as they say. And then James Wade, Joe Coleman. I mean, who do you got winning night two?
Oh, jeez.
Every week's going to be like this. That's the thing. That's why they did it this way.
Well, I tell you what, whoever wins that Price-Anderson match could be fired up all night and could be the one that slays the field.
Exactly what I was thinking as well. I think whoever kind of wins that match can ride it out. And we'll see.
But you got MVG and Peter Wright, and both those two can just, it could be it. I'm going to say who wins the Price-Anderson match is going to take the night, just because it's going to be electrifying. It's going to be a lot more fireworks. And
I could say that one, or I could say Michael Van Gerwen, and I think he's going to rattle off a couple in this Premier League because that's just what Michael seems to do.
I think we'll see the MVG resurgence. I really do. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's not being quiet. He's still number one, but it's just, in my book, he's a giant sleeping.
Yeah.
And when they wake him up, it's just going to be slay, slay, slay.
Eventually, he's got to pull through like he normally does, doesn't he? But anyway, here we go. We're going to talk about the women's match play, which is just announced. That's kind of an exciting thing for these ladies, as it's going to be July 24th, 8-person tournament at the Winter Gardens in Blackpool. That's right. You didn't hear that. Let that click again. They're going to play at the same arena or same venue as the big boys do in the match play. So that's kind of an exciting deal. A small field, but to do it in one day, and I think it's going to be good for the women's game. What do you think?
It's about time.
Yeah.
Fallon and Leisha have done their part to really push into the PDC tour. I know that there's several ladies in the field, Detta, and Suzuki. They're just, any one of those women could win it. I'm saying it's about time. I think they tried it back with Stacy Bromberg, won the women's PDC world title one time they had it. It was probably premature for the PDC, unfortunately. But now I think it's time. And it's time there's a fan base. There's a fan base calling for more women's premier darts. My daughter is playing darts, now, and I show her the stuff that Fallon's done or Lisa's done, and we talk about it. I mean, that fan base, they got it. I'm a big fan of the women. I want to see them do it, and I don't care what anybody says. They can play with any of them.
I think there's definitely that more of a push now than there ever has been. I mean, yeah, they did the system back in, I think it was Oh, it's been, I can't remember off the top of my head.
It was 09, I believe.
It was 09 or 10, I thought it was. And you kind of saw that, but it didn't really go anywhere. But I think the tough thing for them is, and I think this is why they did it the way they did, is it's held after the first 12 Women's Series events. So they're putting meaning behind these Women's Series that's not just 2 World Championship spots, which is really tough for, when you've got a handful of ladies and you're fighting for 2 spots, one of which being the Grand Slam event and the World Championship. So that can make it tough. So expand that to 8 at a meaningful TV event, I do love. And the winner's getting 10,000 pounds as well, with entry into the Grand Slam of darts, as well as the second place person getting 5,000 pounds. So a little bit of money involved too. Not as much as you see on the men's side, of course, but I think to every step is a good step.
I think they're going to start building that women's side in the next couple, 3 or 4 years, where let's say they get to 24 ladies that can beat anybody up at any time. Then they're putting together a great product for the field. I mean, we are fans of the game, and if we see the people we like to play win, it's like watching our team win a Super Bowl or our team win a World Series. If you're a big fan of Michael Smith, he wins a world champion, you kind of feel a little pride because you followed him, you watched him win. If you're a fan of Fallon, which a lot of people have picked up on Fallon, you're a big fan of Lisa. You're one of those ladies comes out and tears it up. Anastasia, then you can go on Data. I mean, any one of those ladies, if you follow them and you're a big fan of them, and now you're going to see them on the big stage, they'll win. They'll win, and they'll win with dignity, and they'll put out the darts that you expect, and it just goes from there.
Well, and that's something to say too. Is I mentioned the 12 women's series spot. There's actually 20 total women's series, so I do believe that there's going to still be those 2 spots to fight out for the world championship. I may be mistaken. I'm not sure on that one. I didn't get that far into research, but. You mentioned Lisa Ashton, and I kind of want to mention something for her as well that's coming up that has some more significance. It's kind of been talked about a lot. How about the Seniors Tour? I think Lisa's got honestly a great shot at making the semis or even a final. I'm going to say it right now.
I was reading the Seniors Tour lineup before we'd sit down, and I tell you what, I mean, there's maybe some old names in there that you hadn't seen in a while, but if you're a fan of the game, you're excited. You're excited to see, some of those players back, the Bob Anderson, the John Lowe, the Paul Lim, the Larry Butler. If you've played Larry, you're excited to see him go over there and do it. Just look at the field. I mean, it's Peter Manley. Yeah. They called him One Dart Manley. There's a lot of, Terry Jenkins and some of those guys, and you got Martin Adams, who never did play much in the PDC. If he ever did, maybe it was in a Grand Slam.
Yep, I think he did have
but he
a couple.
was a BDO guy for so long. So now you're gonna put him in there, and then you stop and think. Well, I read something about they didn't think Phil Taylor was going to be sharp. I'm like, it's Phil Taylor.
You act like he hadn't been practicing.
You think Phil Taylor's going to go into the event and not practice?
Exactly.
Well, he's only done this, and he's done this, and he's done this. I'm like, it's Phil Taylor.
Well, that's the thing about it is I think you do have Phil Taylor, but you mentioned so many other names, and I think it's all going to come down to a couple people. I'll give you my semifinals and my finals. I think you're going to see Phil Taylor take on Robert Thornton, and then Martin Adams take on Lisa Ashton, and I think you're going to see a Taylor-Martin Adams final just because those guys have been in great form for so many years, and you saw Martin Adams at the top of the BDO for so many years, and then Phil Taylor, we all know what he's done. But in the end, I think you see Lift. The title is going to be it'll be the first World Seniors Championship, but it'll be a 17th title for Phil Taylor. I think in the end, I think that's just going to be too hard to beat, man. You said it.
The player that. There's 2 players that I think will surprise some people. One would be Kevin Painter, and the other one, I got some American pride here. I think Larry will do better than people give him credit. I really do.
Larry can be dangerous.
I've seen him play. he can rise to anybody's competition. He's had his moments like all of us do where he didn't play as well. And then he's also won his titles. I think he goes a little bit in the field. I really do. I hope he does.
Yep.
It'll make me proud to know that I've played with him or played against him. To watch him go deep in the field.
And there's no easy side of the bracket here by any means. And I think that's just the unfortunate thing is he's got a couple tough matches ahead. I think Keith Geller's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I hear he's been practicing an awful lot. And that can be scary, but I mean,
look, I'm wishing it. I'm not saying it would happen, but I'm wishing it.
Hey,
John Part.
Yep, that's another one.
You want to see John Part do well. I mean, he's a 3-time world champion. Yep. I mean, you want John to go out there and just thrash the board like he can. Any one of those people can.
Yeah. You're certainly right.
Paul Lynn, of course, he's the ageless wonder. And I know they call him the Singapore Slinger, but he is the ageless wonder. And, nowadays we get to play his son Chris on a regular basis. So Chris is in the field. You're like, oh, wow, it's Lim. It's a Lim legacy.
Just as dangerous.
But, I would like to see both Paul Lim and Larry get, through at least through the second round. And maybe if they don't get through the second round, make it extremely hard on those guys. They get into this. If they make it past the second round, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can win that tournament.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. Anybody can win that tournament, and I'm glad you mentioned Larry because Larry did do well at Las Vegas Open. He did have a semifinal in that ADO 501 national championship. He did play, like we said, we played Kevin Luke in a fantastic match. Kevin winning with a 90 average, so I mean he's in good form. He could very well take it. But Ryan, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we get into some future or coming events for us in production, or just kind of around the U.S.?
No, I look forward to American Darts. I look forward to some upcoming events that I'm personally going to play in. The WDF, I hope, is going to have Lakeside when they say that it's going to have Lakeside.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been held back because of COVID. I know that they reached out and said that the PDC Tour card holders that had earned their spot get to play. So we'll see Jules Van Doggen in the field. I know we've got Kevin Luke in the field, and I think we also got Leonard Gates in the field.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that as well because that is a very big thing for those 7 or 8 players, I think it was, who earned their PDC Tour card are actually getting the opportunity to go play in an amateur event now as well because of the circumstances. I guess the WDF and PDC must have worked something out. I think that's a big step for both of those organizations. So I mean, that's kind of a thing to keep in the back of your mind is what could potentially happen between the WDF and the PDC down the road. I mean, who knows?
Personally, I would like to see the PDC and WDF work in a partnership. The PDC will take care of the professional side of darts. The WDF will handle the amateur side of darts.
Mm-hmm.
The WDF has no problem. If the WDF has no problem with being a stepping stone to the PDC, I think the BDO's problems over the years is they did not want to be a stepping stone. They wanted their own product, or their product was diminishing, and they were still trying to compete with the product that was coming on, which is the PDC. I mean, unfortunately, there's only really one true professional level of darts when you talk about it is the PDC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of great organizations that have their professionals that put on great events that have showcased fantastic talent. But I think if the WDF and the PDC work well together, the WD events will be even bigger and better. So when you flag a WDF event for the ADO, it's worth it. You want to go.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is we want to play meaningful darts. That's the thing about it is we're spread out pretty broad, but that's the thing. We're all searching for meaningful darts. And we're seeing it with these DP tours. We're seeing it with the CDC. We're seeing it now with the WDF, and now we've got some people in the PDC making that move. So it's going to be some exciting times. for all of us here in North America. And, you know, kind of looking at some future events, we got a couple here for the ADO I wanted to mention. We got Shoot for the Moon, Syracuse Open, Port City, and then we also have Camellia Classic coming up. So a busy one ahead for the ADO, and then BullShooter, a couple events. We got Pennsylvania, I think that's this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, in Pittsburgh, and then Nebraska as well. So a couple soft tip events there. But how about for us here at USA Darts? That's what everybody is kind of want to know. What's our next stream? We've got a good one coming your way from Oklahoma, as it's the Oklahoma Throwdown Soft Tip Dart Tournament, March 4th through the 6th in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And then I'm excited for this one. I know this gentleman alongside of me is excited as well. We will be at the Booyah Cup, and it's going to be us two in the commentary booth for this one. And it's going to be it's turning into a quality tournament. We've got 16 qualifiers, and already in the mix, we've got Leonard Gates, Jeremiah Millar, Mike Maloney, Garrett Rakowski, to name a few, and so many more. What do you think?
Well, when I was approached about going to this, I said, yes, I want to go. and they were like, they said, and they were like, well, you didn't even give me a chance to finish. Like, I don't care, I want to go.
Yeah.
I know most of those players in the field, if not all of them. I've either played against them or played with them, and I'm ready to commentate that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Could I make the field? I don't care. I want to go commentate.
Well, you got some quality names on the order of merit. You got, I think, Chip Anderson and Chris Lim as a couple names I saw. It's going to be impossible for me to name off all these names, so no hope on that one. But, I mean, then you saw, I'm leaving out Kevin Luke, who's already in the tournament, Jesse Johnson, Kevin, I'm going to always butcher his name, but Kevin Yaz from up there in Wisconsin, I think, is already involved. And there's so many quality names already trying to get in the mix, and there's still some qualifiers left if you want to try to do that. So I think it's Booyah Cup on Facebook is what you want to do to kind of get involved. It's a G3 board on the Arachnid. If you wanted to take your shot, go ahead and do it, because we'll be streaming in Wisconsin in March. It should be fun. I'm excited to have you.
I will share this much with you, and this is the great thing. If you've ever seen soft tip high-end cricket, this is the one to watch. Because these guys are going to put phenomenal averages up. It's going to be the 9 mark, battled by the 9 mark, by the 9 mark, and then you go up as a player and hit the 7 and lose. And it's going to be that intense. It's the high scoring of cricket. I believe it's double in, double out, split bull, 501. You're going to see 100+ averages. You might even see the 9 darter. You might, a lot of 10 dart legs. It's going to be fast paced. It's going to be supercharged. That's why they're like, hey, you want to go to Milwaukee? I'm like, you betcha I do. I'm ready to go run my mouth for that entire tournament.
Let's do it. It should be fun, and we are definitely looking forward to it as always. But we'll have some. I'm excited. I'm probably reaching out to some players. We're going to do some interviews, kind of prep that one as well for Booyah Cup, and then the Oklahoma Throwdown as well. I mean, that's another one that's kind of you got to qualify through. Unfortunately, it's the same weekend as St. Patty's or Missouri Open.
It's the same weekend as St. Patty's.
St. Patty's.
Yeah. The Oklahoma Throwdown, I think this is their second year. It's building into an event. It's building an event that you got to qualify to get in. Those are with the right steam and the right promotion. Those become a calendar list. Okay, so I'm going to run to the BullShooter in Chicago. I'm going to do the Oklahoma Throwdown. I'm going to try to qualify for the Booyah Cup. I'm gonna try to go to the TOC. I may go to Las Vegas to play in the ADA Nationals or the Phoenix Cup. I mean, these are the events that really, for soft tip of darts, that really start bringing in the more players, and you're still building the fan base. And I think that's what you and I have talked more about is streaming some of these high intense matches to help build our fan base for soft tip darts. Because I like to play them both. I like to commentate on both. I like talking about both. I know that the game of soft tip it's got different levels. That doesn't bother me. I know what high end darts can look like on soft tip, and that is a mental stress that if you break, you lose. If you don't hold your throw, you lose. It's so quick, and It's going to be exciting. I can't tell you who's going to win. I don't have any idea. I'm not even going to predict it. I'm just going to have fun.
and that's the thing. I'm glad you mentioned it. There's still some players that, or some people out there that are like, oh, soft tip darts isn't real darts, and or that old controversy. I mean, honestly, darts is darts. Whether you're playing soft tip or steel tip, they both have their own unique little knickknacks or whatever, and they're both tough in their own ways. Like you said, soft tip, it's about what you miss. Steel tip, it's about what you hit. It's kind of one of them things, you know. So
let me share you one thing about soft tip darts. My first introduction to a bull shooter. It's Johnny K taking on John Part. Johnny K was the reigning ADO 501 national champion that year, and John Part was a 3-time world champion. And they're playing a 501 in the bullpen, soft tip, putting together great numbers in front of the crowd. I didn't care. It was great darts.
Yep.
You know, you gotta. If you have that issue, separate it, because it's great darts.
Exactly.
You know, it's. And they was like, well, I can throw a 9 mark on a 15-inch soft tip board. Yeah, well, so can I.
Yeah.
And I can throw it 3-4 times in a row. Can you?
Yeah.
So you know, I understand. I hear the controversy on the size of the board, and it's like toy darts or whatever. Yeah, but when you're playing someone like a Maloney or a Gates or a Kevin Luke or a Chip Anderson, you know what? They don't miss.
Nope.
They don't.
They certainly don't, and they're going to give it to you either way, so you better back it up, whatever they throw, and you better try to one-up them when you can. So that is the name of the game. But anyway, Ryan, we're going to go ahead and round this off. It's been about an hour. It feels like it's I could talk all day. I can continue on, but I know that's just part of the nature of the beast. I want to keep about an hour time. What do you think?
It's been a good show. I do want to reach out to North America's 4 tour card holders that are getting ready to start, I believe, Saturday. I spoke with Jules this morning. Jules Van Doggen, of course, is in from my state. I live about 2.5 hours from him. He's a good friend of mine. I wish Jules and Matt Campbell and Jeff Smith and Danny Baggish the best of luck on the tour this year. They have made me a bigger fan. When they win matches, it's just great. It's great to know that, hey, did you see that match that Danny won?
Mm-hmm.
Or man, Jeff made it all the way to the top 8 in today's event. Or man, look at Jinja Ninja, he's tearing it up. And then we got the Dutch Dragon. It's going to be brand new to all that stuff over there. You know, we are fans of the game, gentlemen, and if you watch this, we are rooting you 100%.
Yeah, I think you said it. Nail hit the head right there, I think, is the perfect statement. I think it's more exciting for us when there's action going on, and when you got 4 players, not just one or maybe even none, like we've had in the past. I mean, we got 4 players that you could be cheering on from North America over the PDC Tour. Facebook is definitely interesting on those days, and I love kind of tuning in and watching the Dart Connect feed or tuning on to PDC.tv and checking out those floor matches. So yeah, perfect state. Good luck, guys. Shoot well, and do what you're there for. Go to work. There you go. All righty, Ryan. Well, I appreciate you joining me for the first episode of the BullShooting Podcast. I know we're certainly going to have you back more than a few times, and thanks for joining me here on this one. It's been a great little conversation. We had some hot topics, good laughs, and we had some good convos. That's what it's all about. So appreciate you joining me, sir, very much. Thank you.
No problem. You have a good night, my friend.
Yes, definitely. Well, you all take care. We will see you on the next episode of BullShooting Podcast. Stay tuned to our Facebook and YouTube pages, as we'll keep you in touch there. We do have the Twitter as well, so if you fancy Twitter, go ahead and do that one and stay in touch with USA Darts Productions. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next time.